Hi everybody, welcome to English 241 American Literature 1. This is going to be a course introduction, kind of just to show you all the elements of the course and figure out where I'm coming from, what my expectations are for you, and what you can expect from the class itself. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about general course information, the purpose for studying early American literature, how to read critically, how to write about literature, exposition and textual support, your reading journals, and my philosophy on teaching and literature. So some general course information. Before you jump into the Get Started section of the course, which is where you need to begin, it's really important that you read the syllabus and check out the schedule for /course outline. I call it a course outline because I almost never stick to the schedule. I really try to, but I'm also flexible, and so if we need to spend more time on something, I do that. Now, that being said, this is a summer course, so and an 8-week course, so our time is limited. So I won't have as much flexibility as I do in a 16-week semester. The most accurate and up-to-date information on assignments and due date is always found in the learning unit that we're working in. I'll have a list of activities, and that list of activities will be the assignment due dates. Most of the assignments are going to be due on Monday evening, no later than 11:30 p.m. However, this first week, and when we have discussion board posts, there's usually 2 due dates. One due date for when your original post needs to be up, and then the second due date for when your responses to your classmates' posts need to be posted. So that way everybody's not trying to do it at 11:30 on Monday night. It works a little bit better that way, and we get a little bit better quality of discussions. All of your readings are online, so no textbook is required. If you bought a textbook for this course, return it. You don't need it. All of the literature from this particular period is no longer subject to copyright, so it's all available for free online, so there's no point in paying for an expensive textbook. Some more general course information, email. I usually check email at least twice a day. I'm almost always do it more than that, particularly when assignments are due or if I've just posted something new. I check in just to see if people have questions. So you should receive a response from me within 24 hours. If for some reason I don't respond within 24 hours, email me again. Maybe I didn't see it, it got lost in the shuffle. You know, sometimes I can have 200 emails in my inbox. So, you know, don't hesitate to re-email me. Don't think you're bothering me. It's not going to make me cranky or upset. Just make sure you get in touch with me so that I can answer your questions in a timely manner. Now, on the weekends, you know, sometimes it's summer, I'm going to go camping and we're going on some trips, so I'll be in and out of town. Again, I'll do my best to answer quickly, but on the weekends, like Friday afternoon till Sunday evening, I may not be able to answer within 24 hours. But again, I'll try to check it and do it as soon as possible. If you have any general questions about the course and the assignments, rather than emailing me, post them in the questions and comments forum. And I say that for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason is if you have a question about a due date or some material, chances are other people in the class are going to have that same question. So I'm going to get 5 emails or 6 emails about the same thing. So if you post it in the discussion board questions and comments forum, then everybody can see the question and see my answer. The other thing is if somebody posts a question in the questions and comments forum and you know the answer, don't wait for me. Go ahead and answer. Feel free. This really works well. Sometimes people will encounter technical issues, and my more technically savvy students in the class will be able to troubleshoot for them much better than I ever could. So by all means, feel free to respond to the questions and comments forum. Don't wait for me. And you can subscribe to that forum so that you get an email whenever anything is posted in it. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to that forum and to the Notes on Graded Assignments forum, because when I grade your assignments, I usually have general notes that I share with the whole class, just like I would in a face-to-face class. If I was returning an assignment, I would kind of go over the things that seem to trouble people or areas that need to be further elaborated on. I do the same thing with that forum, the Notes on Graded Assignments forum, so that you can kind of get that same experience of what worked well, what was troubling, or what you still need to pay attention to. And this is a particularly important forum because I expect your work to improve as the semester continues. So I don't expect you to be perfect this first week or even next week, but as we go on, I expect you to be adjusting and making sure that you're getting done what you need to get done, and that you're meeting the requirements of the course. And so my expectations rise. And if you're not meeting my expectations, I post that in the forum and explain what needs to be done. So it is important to check that Notes on Graded Assignments forum. Throughout the semester, you'll get lots of mini lectures like this one. They're all pre-recorded, and the recordings and the links to the transcripts of the discussions are posted in the corresponding learning unit each week. So each week you're going to have at least one lecture, or recorded mini lecture. This week this is yours, and then next week I think there's two. One about Captain John Smith and travel logs, and one about the other. So there'll be two different lectures there. I'll also include other videos that other experts and faculty members have posted. I do that because I figure variety is the spice of life, and you get bored with listening to me all the time. And if somebody else has said it really well, there's no reason for me to re-say it or to say it differently. So I'll often link to videos, and I expect you to look at those videos. I expect you to watch the mini lectures. You will be required, or you are responsible to know all of the material presented in these lectures and the videos and the reading assignment. So you're responsible for all of the materials. Sometimes a couple of the lectures I've recorded a couple of semesters back, and so I might use different terms. So if a term is confusing or different than what you see in Blackboard, by all means ask me, post it in the questions and comments section. So for example, I've changed the title of the questions and comments discussion board forum from I have a question to questions and comments, because I want to encourage students to put comments up there. It doesn't have to be a question. It might just be, you know, I really liked this, or I really don't understand this, that kind of a thing. So that's why I changed the title, but the older videos will have that I have a question for it. So that's that. Some study skill requirements for this course. This is an online course, obviously, and that means you have to be a proactive learner. Online really requires that you are very diligent, very well organized, and that you're a hard worker. You're going to use and further develop your critical thinking skills to delve deeply into the assignments. I really want you to look beyond the obvious, to think deeply about the literature that we're reading, and not just look at the surface, but to think what's going on historically, what's happening to this person, what information is this person trying to convey beyond just the simple words on the paper. A good or proactive learner is open to exploring a variety of ways of thinking and learning. So you're not just stuck in one way of working assignments or responding to assignments, that you're more willing to be creative and think outside the box, and that you're flexible to working with others to support your learning and theirs. So we may or may not have group assignments. It's hard to do that in the summer because it's such a short period, and getting people to get to know each other and contact each other and work with each other is pretty challenging. But I might throw up some kind of group assignments in the discussion board where you guys can work together kind of informally or less formally. So be aware that that is a possibility. Do not work in isolation. If you don't understand something, try to figure it out on your own, okay? Because this is part of learning. But if you've tried and it still doesn't make sense, then by all means ask questions. You can ask me, you can ask one of your classmates if you don't feel comfortable asking me, but make sure that you've read the instructions, read the directions, so that you have good questions to ask. For example, I'll get a question like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do for Unit 1. Well, that really doesn't give me a lot to work with. What is confusing to you? Do you not understand the discussion board assignment? Do you not know how to post an introduction to yourself? Do you not know how to reply to others? Can you not find the discussion board? So you've got to give me some help so that it limits the number of emails that we have back and forth with each other, and it also allows me to quickly respond to your particular situation and give you the best possible answer. So try to be as specific as you can when you have a question. Just telling me that you don't understand doesn't help. Tell me what's confusing to you. Maybe it's the language, maybe it's what exactly I'm looking for. Just give me specifics as much as you possibly can so that I can direct you in the best possible and most efficient manner. In order to be successful in this class, you need to be organized and dedicated to learning. You need to check your email on Blackboard daily. I update the material, the assignments, the grades, and the announcements almost every day, so you need to check in. You need to set a realistic amount of time to work on course assignments. Keep up with the workload. Late submissions will not be accepted. This is especially important in a summer class. We don't have time for you to fall behind. We've got just 8 weeks to get through hundreds of years of material, which is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So you really have to keep up with the workload. You also need to submit all of your assignments via Blackboard. Do not send assignments to me via email. I will not grade them. I'm teaching 2 classes online. If you are sending me stuff online, I'm not going to know which class you're in. I'm not going to know what the assignment is. So it's just really difficult to accept work through email. Make sure you use the corresponding link in Blackboard. If you're having difficulty with it, let me know and I can see what I can do to help you. But do make sure that you do that. The course design and time. I've said a couple of times this is an 8-week course. This course requires the same number of course hours as if it were a 16-week course, which means that you are supposed to spend 12 to 18 hours per week on this course. Now, this is summer. People want to have fun. You probably have other obligations. You probably have other courses that you're taking. So you are going to need to plan your time very carefully. Some of these readings are dense, and it's going to take you, it might take you 12 hours next week to get through all of the reading assignments. Generally, you're not going to need to put that much time into the assignments, but this, at the beginning, I think is our hardest readings are at the beginning of the semester, and then it gets easier. That partially has to do with the time and when things were written. It's just denser reading to begin with, and it gets a little bit more fun and more familiar kinds of genres and types of writing as we progress throughout the semester. So really the hardest part is the beginning. That doesn't mean that you're not going to need to spend 12 to 18 hours in Unit 4. It just means that you probably are really going to need all of your time and energy next week when you're looking at Unit 1. Again, this is not a correspondence course. You don't work at your own pace. What my goal is this summer is to have at least 1 unit, at least 2 units open at the same time. So in other words, I'm going to open Unit 1 today. You're going to have the Get It Started unit and Unit 1 open. By Next week or the end of this week, I'll have Unit 2 open, so that for those of you that work a little bit more quickly, you can work a little bit ahead, but I'm not going to open the whole course. There's lots of pedagogical reasons not to do that, but what I found in the past is that students rush through it. They think they finished the course, and the quality of their work is just not acceptable. So I try to do it a little bit at a time to space it, so that if there are some problems, we can work through them before it's the end of the semester or before you think you're done. Course design, we have lots of different kinds of assignments. If you note on your syllabus, class participation, assignments, reading journals, reading quizzes, all of those count as 75% of this course. 25% will be your final project/exam, and we'll talk about that as the semester progresses. So your assignments, again, will be reading assignments. They'll be either online, they could be videos, and they could be PDFs. There'll be miscellaneous practice exercises and assignments, short questions to quizzes. There's reading quizzes. The reading quizzes are meant to ensure that you've read the assignments and ensure that you understand. So it's a combination of understanding and that you actually did do the work. A final combined exam/project, and again, like I said a minute ago, we'll talk about that later. There'll be lots of writing. That's the way that we're going to be communicating with each other in this class. So there'll be short essays and less formal journals, reading journals, and discussion board posts. And I'll talk about them. Well, I'll say a note about the discussion board posts now. All of the writing that you do in this class should be carefully proofread, spell checked, and checked for capitalization. That's one of my bugaboos. It really just ticks me off when I see little I's or something like that. I really want you to practice writing in an academic manner in this course. So even though it might not be a formal essay, I still expect you to put the effort and time into it, to proofread it carefully, to make sure that you're using the right words, to make sure that you're spelling things correctly. And there are a couple of tools that you can use if you're not familiar with them, and you look in the web resources section of this course, you'll see that there is a link to PaperRater. You can actually copy and paste a piece or your essay, your reading journal, whatever it is, into that, and it will basically grade it for you and highlight those areas that are problematic. Maybe you're having problems with diction or subject-verb agreement, and it will highlight that and even link to brief explanations of how to fix those errors. So it's really useful for those of you that struggle with writing. The other tool that I haven't posted a link to it yet, but I will put it in PaperRater, is Grammarly. Grammarly is something, again, that you can use online. You can download it to your laptop or your desktop and use it that way. I have it on all of my computers, and it just sort of like catches your little errors. It works in Blackboard with Blackboard, and again, you can copy and paste documents into it, and it will show you wherever your errors are and provide an explanation as well. So I do expect this is a 200 level course, so you had to have English 111 and 112 in order to qualify to take this class. And so I do expect your writing to be to demonstrate that you have learned the rules of academic writing from English 111 and 112. I use grade rubrics for my assignments as much as I possibly can, and I always strongly suggest that you look over the rubric before you complete an assignment, because that gives you an idea how I'm going to be evaluating that particular assignment, what elements I'm going to be looking for, I'll dock you points on or not. So it's always a good idea to look at the rubrics. You can access them through the grade book. They're always there and available whenever I have them. I don't have rubrics for like quizzes, but any other standalone assignment like the reading journal, there's a rubric attached to the reading journal, so you can look at that and see what my expectations are for that particular assignment before you complete the assignment. I'll also provide feedback if there was something wrong, or if you did something really well, that was exceptional. I'll use the rubrics as a way to provide feedback. So you always need to look at the rubrics after I've graded your assignments. Even if you've gotten a 10, a perfect score, do check the rubrics, because a lot of times I'll tell you what you did really well. So oh, okay, I've got this, I know how to do that. So it just will kind of help you know what you're doing well. And sometimes I'll give you a perfect score even though there were a couple of tweaks. And so again, if you check the rubric, you'll know what those couple of tweaks are that you need to make in the future to continue getting good grades. So revise and resubmit. This is something that I've been doing since I started teaching, and I like it because occasionally, every once in a while, a student will submit something that is so far off the mark, it's just completely not what I expected. And rather than fail that student and just say, oh, you failed, you didn't do it right, I like to give you a grade of 1 in the grade book, and I will put on the rubric or the assignment, revise and resubmit. You'll have 7 days to revise and resubmit the assignment. And what you need to do, the key, is to make sure you talk to me via email, on the telephone, online, video chatting, whatever it is. But make sure you talk to me so that you have an idea of what you need to do differently, so that you're not just doing the same thing over and over again. I've had students who have revised and resubmitted 3 or 4 times because they're not reading my feedback and they're not talking to me, but they're revising and resubmitting. And it just makes it more tedious for both of us. So do take the time to talk to me to make sure that you know what you need to do to improve your grade. I also have a thing, and you will find this in course documents. It's called an NQA coupon, and NQA stands for No Questions Asked. And you can use that up to 7 days after an assignment is due. And what that does is it gives you a week. So let's say your reading journal is due June 18th, and something came up and you can't get it done by the 18th, but you can get it done in a few days after that. If you submit the NQA, when you submit the NQA, when you submit the reading journal, and I will go ahead and change that 0 to the appropriate grade. So it's kind of a way to give you a freebie. So you can have one late assignment. You can only use the NQA one time. And if at the end of the semester you haven't used your NQA, you haven't needed to submit anything late, you've turned everything in on time, and you've turned in all of your assignments, then you get 10 extra credit points. Okay, so if you've got zeros, you're not going to get that 10 extra credit points. So you need to submit your assignments on time, and then again, you've got that one freebie, that one NQA. So use it wisely, plan your time accordingly. So why are we doing this? Why do we have, or why are we studying early American literature? And there are a couple of reasons. And one is the historical value of early American literature. It's funny, every time I teach this class, I have students who absolutely, believe it or not, in this day and age, did not know that Christopher Columbus never discovered America, what we consider to be America today. He did set foot on North American land, but not in what we consider to be the United States. And so by looking at literature, or early American literature, we get to look at history from a different perspective, and kind of a less traditional understanding or view of history. There's also a strong cultural value because literature tells us about the world we live in today, and certainly early American literature, as I hope you'll see this semester, has really shaped the people that we are today, what our values are, what our beliefs are, what we consider to be American, all have to do, or were all developed in early American literature. And so by looking at this, we can kind of see how we have come to be the people that we are today. And there's also a personal value to reading literature. Literature can tell us a little bit about who we are and what we value as people. And also can connect us to others. We can see similar experiences, similar feelings, similar emotions. And so there's a personal connection that we get when we read literature. So we're going to be doing a lot of reading and writing. How do we read? Of course, you know how to read. You've known how to read for a long time. You wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't. But I have some hints, some strong suggestions, I'll say, on how to read this material well and to read it with a critical eye so that you're looking at it closely. You're not just going through the motions. And the first piece of advice is not to multitask and read at the same time. So put your cell phone on silent, flip it over so it's not constantly buzzing and you're not constantly looking at messages or checking social media. So just set it aside. Find a quiet area to work in. The library is always good. But if you're working online, so you want to stay home, have a place at home where you can close the door and be quiet and get your work done. Also, don't try to breeze through the material. You won't get any meaning out of it if you do. Particularly at the beginning, this is dense and it's tedious and it's going to take some time and some real concentration. The other thing that I suggest with each learning unit is as soon as it's open, preview the material, take a look at it, see how long it is, see what period we're in, what we're talking about with authors, what kind of homework assignments you're going to have, because that will help you focus your reading and kind of know what is going to be key, and it'll also help you figure out your time, how much time you're going to need to put into the reading materials. Make a schedule and stick to it. Once you've previewed the material, you should have an idea of how long it's going to take you to read through it. So for example, in Unit 1, there are a lot of reading assignments. I think there's 5 or 6. But that's to cover, again, in an online or an 8-week course, 1 week is equal to 2 weeks of material. So we're reading 2 weeks worth of material in 1 week's time. Again, that's why you need to plan your time so carefully and be organized and be prepared. When you're reading, ask questions of the author. One of the first questions to ask is, what is the author's purpose? Why is the author writing this? What is the author trying to convey? What's their point? And then, who is the author writing to and for what reason? This relates closely to the purpose. So it's really important to ask yourselves those questions when you're beginning a piece. What's the purpose of this? So for example, in Unit 1, we talk about travel logs, and understanding the purpose of the travel log really helps you put into context what is written then, because then you understand what pieces of information are included, what pieces of information are excluded because of the purpose of a travel log. Locate the historical period the piece was written in. There's a timeline in Unit 1. Check it out. Look and see when that particular piece was written, what's going on with the country, with the world. The other thing that you can do that will really help is to take notes. This helps you when you've got homework assignments or reading quizzes especially. And you'll see when you look at the Conquest of the Americas, the excerpt that I provided is from my personal book, and you'll see that I write in my books a lot. That really helps you to kind of understand. I circle words I don't understand or I want to come back to, or ideas, or I'll underline something. You can do the same thing. Certainly anything that you want to print out, you're welcome to print out and to write on when you're writing, or reading rather. Again, ask questions, underline words you don't know or that confuse you. Use a dictionary. Look up terms that are unclear to you. Another way of demonstrating that you understand material is to summarize the points the author is making. So when you finish reading, you don't have to write it down. You can if that helps you, but you can just kind of in your mind summarize, okay, this is who the author's writing, this is why who the author's writing for, this is why the author is writing, these are the points the author is trying to make. And that will really help you get a clearer understanding of the piece that you're reading. And it'll make you enjoy or help you to enjoy what you're reading too, because you'll go into some depth and really get the meaning of it rather than just breezing through it and going through the motions. So we also are going to be writing about literature, and a couple of terms that you need to be familiar with are exposition and textual support. Exposition means setting forth the meaning or purpose. So another way of thinking about exposition is explanation. You're explaining the meaning of something. Okay, so that's what exposition does. And when you're writing about literature, almost all of the writing that you will do will be exposition. You'll be explaining what the author is trying to say and how you know that, what the author is trying to say. And the way that you will explain or demonstrate that you know what the author is saying by using direct quotes from the piece that you've read. And so you'll take quotes from the piece that you've read, and they will support your claims about a particular piece of writing. So that will help you, the quotes will help kind of be your evidence and to support what you're trying to say. So the majority of the writing you'll do in this class will involve some kind of exposition. You will attempt to explain the purpose or meaning of a piece we are reading. Since you can't ask the author what he or she means, you will have to make your best guess. That's what we do with literary criticism. That's really what it all is. It's our best guess. This is done by using reading closely, thinking about what you've read, making informed assumptions based on the reading materials, and using evidence, direct quotations from the text, to support your claims. You can also use reference materials to help support you as well. But primarily, I want to know what you think, not what literary critics have said about a particular piece. That's not really what this course is about. It's about your experience with the material. So it's really important for you to read closely, think about this, think about the meaning, and then to explain what it is you think it is and why. And again, you'll use evidence from the text, the reading assignments, to support your claims or of what the author means. Here's an example, and you can't see the notes in the recording, but in the PowerPoint view of this, you can see that. So that'll be available to you when I post this. You'll have the notes as well, so you can look at them. But there's some notes in the purple column on the right-hand side that you can click on that kind of explain this excerpt, and I'll just read it quickly to you. And again, this is an example of explication. Todorov writes about the conquest of the Americas because he believes that it is not just, quote, an extreme and exemplary encounter. Alongside this pragmatic value, it has another as well, the value of direct causality. Todorov believes, end quote, Todorov believes that if we look at the violent colonization of the Americas in the 15th and 16th centuries, we can better understand how Americans have come to view minorities or the other today. So that's a brief explanation of a piece of the Todorov excerpt that you're going to read. Reading journals, that's another kind of writing that we'll be doing. And this course requires a fair amount of writing, and so rather than have you write a bunch of formal essays, I like the reading journal format better. And again, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't pay attention to grammar and spelling and to what you're writing. It just means that you don't have to write 1,500 words, that you're going to condense what it is you want to say and just have a few examples rather than a full-blown essay. So, in order to find value in literature, you must be able to make clear connections between literature and your world. This is what I hope you will do with your reading journals. Therefore, your reading journals are your opportunity to deeply reflect upon how the reading assignments connect to contemporary American culture. While these are not essays, I do expect quality writing. They should always follow MLA format, use direct quotes from the reading assignments, and be carefully spell checked and proofread. Again, I say I especially hate capitalization errors, so please follow the rules of capitalization when completing any assignment in this course. For example, when you are spelling America, it is always capitalized. It is a proper name. Make sure you know what needs to be capitalized and doesn't. If you're not sure, go to the Purdue OWL and review capitalization rules. My philosophy about literature. This is one of my favorite classes to teach, and I've put a lot of time and effort into developing it as an online or as an online educational resource so that we don't have to buy textbooks. I've gone through a lot of materials to shape it the way that it is, and I do that because I love literature. I love reading. Obviously, I'm an English teacher. But in the broadest sense, literature is any written expression. However, the writers we will read write for expression and very specific reasons. We're reading a period of literature before there was any such thing as American literature. We're starting at pre-American literature, I would say. And we're watching how American literature is developed. And we're looking at that. So it's really important. We're also looking at this as America is developing. So as we're developing as a country, our sense of literature and written expression is developing as well. So if we're to attempt to understand what we read, we need to understand the author's motivations, the goals, and the purposes for the writing. This involves at least a cursory understanding of the context in which the piece was created. That last line is especially important because this is a historical class. I mean, we really do look a lot at history, what was happening. Any good literature class is always going to put the piece of literature, any good art class is always going to put the piece of art in the context, in the historical context. What's going on? What does it represent? What does it symbolize? And so understanding the history is key to understanding the literature. It also involves our interactions and understandings of the piece of writing. We can never really know how an author intends us to react or interact with a piece of writing unless we specifically ask the author. In most cases, that is impossible. Most especially with the works we'll be reading because everybody is way long dead. So, we attempt to make meaning of what we read by bringing our own experiences, knowledge, and values into the reading experience. Again, these authors have a lot that they feel is really important to say, and so our job is to bring our own knowledge, our own personal understanding, and to connect that with history and to connect that with the word on the page and to make some meaning out of it, to get a bigger picture or big ideas from what we're reading. So that's my philosophy about literature. Now is my philosophy about teaching. You are not a sponge. Therefore, you cannot just sit there and read or listen to my words and magically become an educated person. I do not give you knowledge. Knowledge is something that you have to find on your own. And I should have written there, knowledge is something that you have to work for on your own, because that's really true. I can guide you and help you along the way, but learning is really an independent journey. Everyone learns in his or her own way. You have to find or make your own connection with this material. I cannot make you believe that studying early American literature is important. I can explain to you the value I see in it and try to persuade you to find value in it as well. But ultimately, the decision is up to you, and you can go along on this journey or not. It's up to you. In the same sense, I cannot make you read. You have to decide that you want to learn and that you want to engage with the material. If you don't want to see value, if you don't want to see value in it, then no matter what I say or do, you will not see value in it. It's up to you. What you put into this course is what you're going to get out of it. Again, I can't make you read. There's no way I can do that. And I'm always surprised at the students who take a literature course and are surprised at how much reading is in a literature course. That's what studying literature is about. You have to first read it in order to analyze and interpret and make meaning from it. So there's reading about it. You're going to read, you're going to think, you're going to analyze. All of your critical thinking skills are going to be put to the test in this class. But what you put into the course is what you'll get out of it. I hope that you will enjoy it. I love it. I think it's great fun to teach. I think it's great fun to read, even through some of the tedious parts, which to me, the Puritans were the bane of my existence, and they still are. It was very hard for me to get through them, but I've managed, and I hope you manage too. If after looking at this you've got questions, please post them in the questions and comments forum, or you can email me directly, but start with the forum if you possibly can. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.